Hello. Today we're going to be talking about the Ask Every Student program and how you can contextualize it for your campus. So first of all, the Ask Every Student program is a project of the National Resource Consortium on Full Student Voter Participation that includes research-backed insights and a human-centered design-based toolkit to help you reach full student voter participation on your campus. Ask Every Student is a project of a collaboration between the All-In Campus Democracy Challenge, the Campus Vote Project, Students Learn, Students Vote Coalition, and NASPA Student Affairs Administrators in Higher Education. Additionally, we work with 8 amazing partners across the country, including Lead MN, to be able to work with a lot of the campuses in this program and give them direct access for guidance and being able to work with them to create programs on their campus and implement the resources from the program. So going into a little bit more about what the actual program looks like, we have 3 different levels in the pipeline. One of them is the co-designer program. So those are for campuses that work directly with the design team at Ask Every Student and help in creating tools and resources. They'll also integrate a full voter registration model into existing programming for the implementation in fall of 2020. This year, the co-designer applications are currently closed, but stay tuned for next year and maybe we can take part in one of those together. The next level of the Ask Every Student program is the commitment level. So those campuses will incorporate and implement Ask Every Student into their existing work as a strategy and check in with their current national or state partners for guidance. So you actually have the option to apply for a commitment campus, and we can talk more about that at the end, but those are options for different ways to engage the program more directly. And lastly, if you're just an interested campus, you can just sign up for our email list and you'll receive monthly updates about our program, including new resources, campus and partner spotlights, and best practices for implementing a full voter participation strategy on your campus. So that's the way that the program is set up. The next thing that would be great to talk about today is about the framework that we use for how we think about what an Ask Every program strategy looks like. So ultimately, we have found that the key to full student voter participation comes to accessing a few minutes of one-on-one or small group focus from every student on campus through a systematized process in order to prepare students to confidently navigate the democratic process, beginning with voter registration, which is kind of a lot of information to take in, so we're going to break that down a little bit better for you. So the first one, reaching every student through a systematized process. So we're trying to think about ways where students are already being met. What are the processes that every student or most students have to go through on your campus as just part of their journey as a student? So thinking about things like maybe orientation or a class that is a universal class that all students need to take, or even academic advising. How can we get access to those processes in order to integrate voter registration and democratic engagement conversations into? And then that's the next part, is how are we able to actually get that focus of time? So being able to have just time that you're thinking specifically about it through a one-on-one or small group conversation has shown to be totally game-changing, from being able to get from kind of partial voter registration where you're hitting on maybe a lot of people that they're not totally being involved in or having a personalized experience for, to really being able to create that intentional personalized experience to be able to do the next part of it, which is to prepare them to navigate the democratic process, beginning with voter registration. So that's really being able to have a conversation where you tell them about their civic engagement opportunities on campus and ask them if they would like to register to vote, and if so, you can help them through that process and have a error-free, leakiness-free, really high-quality voter registration at the end of that. So we've actually also broken down this process into a few stages. So the first one is the integrating stage, which is kind of what I was talking about earlier. That's really thinking about how can you get into that process. So we're trying to think about whatever process takes place that works best for your institution. Like I said, those can be things like orientation and welcome week, those universal intro classes, things of that nature. And another big part about the program is we're really focused on building tools and resources for campuses to scale this or adapt this to their institution. So an example for an integrate tool that we already have is the first step form, which will help you kind of go through a lot of the things we're going to be talking about today. And additionally, will allow you to apply to be a commitment campus if you're so interested, or at the very least, get on an email list if you complete it. The next stage is the execute stage. So executing these voter participation efforts is really like the frontline work. So that's actually registering the students, having those conversations, helping them with absentee ballot request forms where it's applicable, training students and staff, utilizing civic technology, and making sure that student voters are just generally being supportive. And then we have some tools for that as well, some that we are building out with the co-designers, a few that we already have. An example of one that we already have is this error-free voter registration conversation, civic engagement plan that will allow you to kind of have a better systematized process that you can easily file and will really help walk you through that civic conversation and collect the voter registration forms in a really well organized way. Additionally, we're building things out like training materials as well, amongst a lot of other exciting things that will be coming out in the next few months. And the last stage is that institutionalizing stage, which includes making an institutional commitment to full student voter participation, which is also, creating those cross-campus coalitions and establishing a meaningful nonpartisan culture around voting that includes non-eligible students, making sure that your student leaders are supported in your efforts. And once again, building out more tools. An example of something that we already have and something that's in the works is helping build an ideal student leader support system and also a coalition building map. And the next part of this is really where it's going to become more interactive. And we're going to talk about the universal touch points that can exist on your campus that will help you actually create your Ask Every Student strategy. So the 4 touch points, which I'll go through, and then we're going to kind of take it into a breakout time where you can, with your group, think about how these might work best on your campus. But the first one is, what is that existing process on your campus that you can integrate your voter registration into? Like we've been saying, anything from like that orientation, that welcome week, even parking pass pickup, academic advising, much more we'll go into in the breakout. But what is your process that you're really interested in building your strategy into? And then the next thing is, who do you need to be able to collaborate or build relationships with in order to gain access into that process? So they're thinking about who are the gatekeepers. So for example, keeping it simple, all right, we want to do orientation. You're going to have to get access to that orientation director. And then the next question is, how are you recruiting, training, and sustaining a team of passionate and supported volunteers, trained individuals? So one of the most important resources that you need in order to be able to do this work is people that are trained, people that are knowledgeable, people that are able to have really great conversations with students about their democratic engagement plan. And so trying to think about what's the process for your recruitment, what's your process for your training, how often are you doing those things? Just kind of a lot of considerations to that once again, we'll talk about more. And then finally, what's your plan for ensuring that the voter registration forms or applications are quality checked and error-free, both on-site and through a back-end process? And of course, also I want to flag that things are very different right now, given all of the circumstances that have come out of COVID. For example, the fact that this is how we're having this conversation today. But in the long term, we're also going to be talking at the end of this about how you can adapt your strategy for a more digital context as well. But really this question is thinking about, even if you were to do it on person, what in an in-person process, what would that process look like for making sure that the forms are quality checked? So now we're going to move into the breakout time group. And we're going to go through each of those touch points, and you're going to be able to have a pause between them for about 5 minutes roughly, or whenever you're finished by, to be able to break down of, all right, these are the processes that we want to use. These are who we need to be able to reach out to. These are our considerations for recruiting and training individuals. And this is how we're thinking about what that actual voter registration process is going to look like itself, both whether that is digital or in person, or whatever you would really like to focus on for the context that you're thinking about for this year.